Let me tell you, if you'd asked me 6 months ago if I could ever see my life becoming the center of a federal arms trafficking investigation, I'd have laughed so hard I might have choked on my morning coffee. But the day I stood in my backyard, staring at a cold, wet slab of concrete where my daughter's pool used to be, I knew right then that nothing about my life was ever going to be normal again. And if you think this is just another HOA nightmare story, buckle up because you have no idea how deep the rabbit hole went in Willowbrook Estates. You know your pool doesn't exist anymore, Karen sneered, standing there like she was crowning herself queen of the cul-de-sac. It wasn't just concrete, it was a tomb, burying the only piece of Lily I had left after the accident. I didn't even feel angry at first, I just felt numb, like every memory I'd tried to salvage from that backyard had been wiped away in a single heartless act. But then, something in me broke. This wasn't about a pool anymore, this was war. And what Karen didn't know, I was holding the ace she'd never see coming. That Tuesday started like any other 12 hours at the city water department, up to my elbows in blueprints and rusty valves. I've been chief water systems engineer here for 15 years, long enough to know every inch of this suburb's guts. Honest work paid for the 4-bedroom colonial, where my little girl took her first steps, learned to ride her bike, and where it all ended on that icy road last winter. Rebuilding the pool was supposed to help me stitch my life back together. Even Tommy Clearbrook from next door used to peek over the fence every weekend. "When can we swim again, Mr. Mason?" He'd ask, his eyes wide with hope. That hope was all I had left. But that day, instead of the half-finished pool with its new blue tiles and underwater lights, I found a gray grave. Still wet around the edges, the pool furniture was frozen under the surface like fossils in amber. I just stood there, my hands shaking, when Karen Stoneheart, our HOA president, came strutting out, folder in hand, fake sympathy dripping off every word. "Safety regulations, Mason. Section 12.4.4, special permits for water features over 3 feet. She even had the gall to act like she was worried about children's safety. The same woman who'd never had kids, never lost anything, lecturing me about protecting memories she'd never understand. I knew the rules, and so did she. They'd just changed them. I'd measured that pool to 5.5 feet, filed all the paperwork, had city permits signed. But these emergency amendments were stamped a week ago in a meeting nobody heard about. That was no coincidence. She was acting weird, too, glancing at her phone, looking over my shoulder, voice just a little shaky, like she was waiting for backup. Then Derek Ironwood showed up, HOA vice president, ex-military, all tight-lipped authority. The kind of guy who'd rather eat gravel than answer a straight question. He gave Karen a high-end GPS unit and started talking in military shorthand about infrastructure projects. If you've ever watched two people talk around you like you weren't even there, like you're a speed bump on their road to whatever secret plan they've cooked up, you know how I felt. Watching them, it hit me. This wasn't about rules. This was about something way bigger than my pool. I barely slept that night, so the next morning I was at Emma Clearwater's doorstep before sunrise. Emma's been my friend since college, sharp, honest, a wizard with numbers. 3 years ago, I vouched for her as HOA treasurer. Now her kitchen table was covered in binders and spreadsheets, and her hands were shaking as she poured the coffee. "Mason, something's really wrong. What happened to your pool?" "That's just the start. There's money moving places it shouldn't. I can't sleep." We went over the books, 15 payments for infrastructure consulting totaling nearly $400,000 in 6 months, to a company called Middleman Express LLC, which, after a quick search, turned out to be nothing more than a P.O. box in Delaware. Shell company. Then Emma pulled out a folder with transfers labeled Project Stonewash, over $2 million more than our HOA had ever collected. And get this money coming into the HOA from unknown grants. Way too vague, way too big, and absolutely not from any real municipal programs. The pattern didn't just smell off, it reeked. We were so wrapped up in it, I barely noticed Tommy heading out for school asking if I'd ever rebuild the pool so all the kids could swim together. That cut deep. Because Lily always wanted that she saw her pool as a place for the whole neighborhood, not just herself. After Tommy left, Emma handed me a flash drive. "If anything happens to me, take this to the police. Promise me." I promised, though I hated how her voice shook. The last file on that drive nearly knocked me off my feet, a neighborhood map with 47 GPS coordinates. My address circled more times than I liked, labeled as Project Stonewash Phase 1. By Friday, I'd had enough. I filed a lawsuit against the HOA for destruction of property and demanded an audit of their finances. The clerk told me they'd serve Karen and Derek before the weekend. I thought I'd scored a win until 2 cops showed up that evening, asking questions about threatening behavior. Karen had filed a harassment complaint against me, flipping the script like I was the villain. I tried to explain about the fraud, the GPS, the money, but by the look in their eyes, I could tell they thought I was just another grieving dad losing his grip. The next week, Karen went nuclear on social media. Dramatic Facebook posts, teary-eyed selfies, claims that I was unstable and harassing innocent neighbors. She held a press conference standing in front of a banner reading, "Willowbrook protecting our families," talking about threats I'd never made. Neighbors who'd once waved now closed their curtains. Even Tommy's mom told him to stay away for a while. Meanwhile, Derek started his own campaign, clipboard in hand, intimidating people into signing statements about neighborhood safety. It was a 1-2 punch. Karen played the victim, Derek the enforcer. But then came the break I needed, reviewing my security footage. I saw Derek with 2 strangers surveying my backyard with ground-penetrating radar 3 weeks before the pool was filled. These weren't safety inspections, they were professionals collecting soil samples, taking photos, marking GPS coordinates. Derek was standing right over where my pool would be animated, gesturing, speaking into his phone in what sounded like a foreign language. That's when I realized they weren't worried about pool safety. They were hiding something under my house. As a city water engineer, I've got access to blueprints nobody else does. Turns out beneath our neighborhood was a secret network of pipes and conduits, nothing to do with city infrastructure. It all converged under my backyard, right where the pool used to be. They didn't fill it to punish me. They filled it to protect whatever was hidden underneath. Emma brought over another box of records, more shell companies, more fraudulent invoices. This operation wasn't just local. It was part of a network across 3 states, shuffling millions through fake consulting contracts, always under the threshold that triggers federal reporting. The emails between Derek and his partners were cryptic, referencing logistics shipments and chillingly Tel Aviv coordination and Gaza supply lines. Derek wasn't just scamming us, he was running an international arms operation. Thursday morning, I dug deeper into Derek's background. His military records didn't match up, but his name popped up in news stories about arms trafficking in Syria and the Middle East. He'd targeted our community for a reason, rich enough for big transactions, sleepy enough that nobody asked questions. Karen was just his pawn, kept in the dark until she started getting nervous. Emma uncovered a customs manifest, a shipment weighing 47 tons, labeled construction materials, but coded in a way that didn't match any legit building supply. The origin. Various countries, meaning it was deliberately obscured. And the final nail, the ultimate destination, was listed as our community center. That Friday, just as I was about to go to the FBI, I got an encrypted message. "Your friend Emma forwarded your concerns. Meet at Riverside Park 3 p.m. Come alone. Your daughter's memory deserves justice." The guy waiting for me looked like he could blend in anywhere, federal badge eyes that never stopped moving. "I'm Agent Martinez, Department of Defense Inspector General's office. You've stumbled onto something bigger than a corrupt HOA, Mr. Graywater." He showed me satellite photos, electromagnetic scans, blueprints, evidence of underground storage, server rooms, communications equipment. Derek isn't just running guns, he's laundering money and shipping weapons to Israeli defense contractors for use in Gaza. Your daughter's memorial was built over his main server hub. Every penny funneled through our HOA had helped arm people thousands of miles away. The worst part: the weapons weren't just standard issue. They included stuff designed for urban warfare, the kind that hurts civilians. Martinez told me your quick action prevented a shipment big enough to fuel 6 months of conflict. We estimate Operation Stonewash has moved nearly $50 million in arms through neighborhoods just like yours. That Sunday, disaster struck. Emma called from the hospital. Her brakes had failed. Someone tampered with my car, Mason. I made backups of everything. Be careful. The message was clear. Stay quiet or next time it'd be worse. The feds warned me Derek was about to accelerate his plans and the next shipment would be his last unless we acted. I spent all night thinking about Lily, about what she'd say if she could see me. "Daddy, you always told me to stand up for kids who couldn't fight back." I realized this wasn't just about revenge. It was about stopping real evil. Monday morning, I initiated a citywide water pressure test, isolating the Willowbrook network, forcing Derek's operation into the open. Every phone call he made near a water source was now being recorded. Within hours, Derek was scrambling panicked calls to Tel Aviv trying to move the schedule up. We had him. Karen, wild-eyed and trembling, showed up at my door late that night with the master key to Derek's storage facility and all the codes. "I can't live with what I've done," she sobbed. For the first time, she looked human, broken, scared, but ready to make things right. That night, I went live on Facebook with Karen beside me, laying out the entire conspiracy for the world to see, just as federal agents raided the underground facility. Helicopters overhead, news crews, FBI. Derek was arrested, surrounded by enough weapons to arm a battalion. As he was dragged past the cameras, he shouted, "You've destroyed something vital. Mason, you'll pay for this." But that was just the sound of a tyrant losing his grip. 6 months later in federal court, Derek got 47 years assets seized, funds returned to every community he'd bled dry. Our neighborhood used the restitution to build Lily's Peace Center, a place where kids from every background could swim, learn, and heal. Karen devoted herself to working with refugees. Emma ran the center's books, making sure every cent went to something good. Even the neighbors who'd once doubted me came together, working side by side. The day we opened the new pool, Tommy jumped in first, laughing, and for a moment I swear I heard Lily's voice on the breeze. We'd built exactly what she'd dreamed of, a place for peace. And sometimes, sometimes the darkest days really do lead to the brightest dawns. What do you think? Was I right to fight back, or did I cross a line, exposing my whole community like that? Have you ever faced down something you thought was unbeatable? Drop your story in the comments, because sometimes someone out there needs to know they're not alone. And if this gave you hope, share it. Let's show the world that even in the darkest corners, light still finds a way in.